It's the World Cup of World Cups, Qatar 2022, games 9 through 17.
Hello and welcome to the World Cup of World Cups podcast. I'm James Cook. I'm joined, as usual, by Paul Savage. Hello, Paul. How are you?
I'm fine, thanks, mate. How are you?
Still got a cold. I've never had a cold during the World Cup before, so that's a first. So we're recording this just after the Wales-Iran match has finished, and we'll get onto that in a minute, but we have other games to get through first. We'll go back to all of 2 days ago, which seems like a month ago, for the Morocco-Croatia game.
I mean, I don't know why we're going back to it. It was a very dull game.
If you watched the Morocco-Croatia game and you would like to join the support group that I'm starting, please email worldcupofworldcups@gmail.com for survivors of that game.
I'll be honest, I got so much admin done, so I'm not complaining one bit.
And that was the third 0-0 draw I'd watched in a row because I'd missed the France game the night before. And then I got to see the first half of Germany-Japan before I had to go out. It was fairly one-paced. Gundogan scored a penalty, which was the first goal I'd seen in 4 games. And then at half-time, I just left. So I missed all the fun in that one. Did you see it?
Yes, I did. It was so fun. Half-time, I put on a jacket that I'd bought at the Third Kit, who I'm going to give a shout-out to, who are a vintage football kit supplier in a market in London. And I paid too much for a vintage J-League starter jacket. So I put that on for good luck, and it worked. Japan came back to win 2-1. So I'm taking all the credit for that.
They sent their thanks to you, the Japanese national team?
No, but I mean, they are lovely people. They cleaned up their dressing room after going out in 2018, so I think they probably will get in touch.
And their fans cleaned up the stadium after this game as well.
I've got a funny feeling that I will be rewarded in some way.
Yeah, the Japanese will come round and clean up your house.
I was hoping for like maybe a Gundam, like one of those massive robots that I get to pilot from the inside. If there's one of those knocking around, I'll have one of those.
There's bound to be. Japan's goals are scored by 2 substitutes who both play in the Bundesliga. Ritsu Doan and Takuma Asano. And it is Germany's second consecutive World Cup defeat to an Asian team, because their last game in 2018, they lost to South Korea 2-0. And they are in real trouble because they play Spain next.
And Spain, pretty good.
Yes, just the 7 goals for Spain in another game that I didn't get to see against Costa Rica, who looked absolutely atrocious in the footage I have seen of it.
It did seem like a training exercise by about the 3rd goal. They were trying to do things that they were like, have I ever scored a goal with my hair? Let's try that.
6 different goal scorers for Spain, 2 from Ferran Torres, Dani Olmo, who speaks fluent Croatian, Marco Asensio, who's half Dutch, and Gavi, who is the 3rd youngest World Cup goal scorer of all time after Pelé and Manuel Rosas back in 1930. Yeah. It is the joint heaviest defeat in all of Costa Rican football history for the Costa Rican national team. And the biggest win at a World Cup since...
the 10-1 of Hungary.
I thought that, and I checked, and I was wrong. It's since Portugal beat North Korea 7-0 in 2010. Obviously, we forget that one because the North Koreans edited it to be a 0-0 draw.
No, they won. They got a sneaky win. I think it went to a playoff on who can get the most holes in one on a golf course.
And then I got back in time to watch Canada-Belgium to see Canada being amazing.
You know that thing I said in where I was like, I think Canada will win one of the games against Belgium or Croatia, and was roundly scoffed. And they might do it. I mean, they did in this one. Missed a penalty like an idiot.
Yes, Alphonso Davies, their star player, born to Liberian parents in a refugee camp in Ghana, the 4th of 6 siblings. They fled during the Second Liberian Civil War, and in 2005, the family emigrated to Canada. And in 2017, Davis gets Canadian citizenship. So he's had quite the story to get to the World Cup. So, you know, maybe not be too harsh on him for missing a penalty.
Also, if they've got Alphonso Davies and Timothy Weah, who could have played for Liberia, that would have been quite the striking force if they were not being played under grandparent rules.
To be fair, Thibaut Courtois saves the penalty, and you forget just how massive he is.
Yeah.
and how much he looks like a French policeman.
When you say a French policeman, do you mean a French policeman in a sitcom slash farce?
I think I'm thinking of Arthur Bostrom from A Lower Land.
Yes, I think you are.
And Belgium jammily get a goal through Michy Batshuayi, who played really badly apart from the goal that he scores.
There was lots of people on Twitter just going, "What is he doing? What is he? Oh, he's done that." It was literally 3 touches and went, "Yep, 2 of those will be great."
Michy Batshuayi, by the way, his nickname is Batsman. The plural of Batman, is it? It's not Batman, it's Batsman.
Kevin De Bruyne was like the least Kevin De Bruyne I've ever seen him. Spraying balls left, right and centre and not hitting any sort of target.
They seemed off. Roberto Martinez made a big thing of it. Well, if you can play badly and win.
Yeah, it's what champions are made of. But
it's what lucky teams who get found out are made of also.
After Germany lost their game, somebody was like, yeah, but there's lots of good teams who've lost their first game and went on to do good things. Again, there's also lots of teams that lost their first game, went on to lose the other 2 and crashed out.
There's way more of them.
Statistically, that is no signifier.
The next day started off with Switzerland-Cameroon, not a classic, but at least had a goal in it from Breel Embolo, who is the first player to score against their country of birth at a World Cup.
I believe they are also can we have a ding? First player to ever do the I'm not celebrating against my former club celebration.
It is Cameroon's 8th World Cup defeat in a row, which puts them just 1 behind the world record held by Mexico. So
I was going to guess it was Mexico.
Oh, I could have turned that into a quiz. I'm sorry. So by the end of this World Cup, they could have the record that no one wants. That game was refereed by Facundo Tello, who earlier this month brandished 10 red cards in the Argentinian Champions Trophy final between Boca and Racing. 7 to Boca, 3 to Racing. So he did quite well to keep that in his pocket.
Surely that's too many to actually have a game.
No, they finished with 4 on one side, 8 on the other. So that game was fairly meh, and it was a game that I was watching. And another game that I watched was Uruguay-South Korea.
It was one of those ones where you go, oh, there's chances at either end, but they were few and far between.
Diego Godin, who was winning his 160th cap for Uruguay, hits the post. That was about as close as anyone got, and it is the first time Uruguay have failed to beat an Asian side at the World Cup.
Didn't Valverde also hit the post?
Yes. The game was refereed by Clement Turpin, who manages to look like both Dick and Dom. He did the Champions League final between Real Madrid and Liverpool. So that was 0-0. So I've seen that 1 goal and the Gundogan penalty in like 6 games at this point. I'm being a massive Jonah. And then I'm watching Portugal-Ghana, and for the first 65 minutes, nothing.
Nothing happens, yeah.
But then Cristiano Ronaldo gets a soft penalty.
Oh, it's so soft. Although the disallowed goal in the first half was maybe a bit soft.
He then steps up to take it and becomes the first player to score at 5 World Cups.
If we're talking about the men's, because of course Marta scored at 5 Women's World Cups before we get letters.
Yes, I would direct everyone's attention to the disclaimer we do in the very first episode. Yeah, he scored at 5 World Cups. He's scored 8 goals.
And all of them so far have been in the groups. He has still scored as many last 16 goals as I have.
He's also not even Portugal's top World Cup goal scorer. That is still Eusebio, who scored 9 and did it in 6 games in 1 World Cup. Portugal are 1-0 up. Ghana then equalised through Andre Ayew before 2 quick Portugal goals from Felix and Leao, who looked like a good player when he came on. Puts them 3-1 up, and then Osman Bukhari pulls one back. And then right at the end...
Osman Bukhari also, because Cristiano Ronaldo had just gone off, and then he did Cristiano Ronaldo's trademark celebration, and they cut to Cristiano Ronaldo, and he looked genuinely pissed off, and it was funny.
Right at the end of the game, Inaki Williams does the old sneak up on the goalkeeper trick, but slips at the last minute. And you think, oh, God, why did you have to slip? That would have been so amazing.
It would have been the greatest World Cup thing of all time if Cristiano Ronaldo had gone off whilst being 3-1 up, and then someone does his celebration at him, and then somebody sneaks up on the goalkeeper and scores so they don't win their game. It would have been so comically pleasing. But sadly, life's rubbish. I find it funny when commentators go, you literally couldn't write it. if I was writing football, that is one of the first things I would put in there. Last minute winners, people coming on for grudge matches. I'd write all of that in. Jordan Ayew came on for his brother, which we do not ring the bell for because that has already happened in this World Cup. So it's not even the first time it's ever happened in a World Cup. It's previously happened. It's also happened this World Cup.
It turns out it happens loads. Inaki Williams features in the Amazon Prime documentary Six Dreams. In 2016, he played a friendly for Spain because he's born in Bilbao. His brother, Nico Williams, plays for Spain. Not to be confused with the Nico Williams who plays for Wales. It turns out there are two Nico Williamses at this World Cup. And there are also two Chris Gunters, because there's one for Wales and one for Germany.
Is there like a Brennan Johansson who's playing for Sweden?
Sweden have not qualified, Paul.
No.
Inaki Williams has also played a game for the Basque national team.
Ooh.
So it's a bit of a throwback to the old days of people chopping and changing their national teams. He declared for Ghana earlier this year.
And then he's going to finish his career by playing for 1930s Italy.
And then I went out and had to go to work, so I missed Brazil-Serbia. From what I've seen, though, it was a fairly workaday victory for Brazil, and I was disappointed that Serbia didn't give them more of a game. It was 2-0, which is the exact same result as when they played each other in the last World Cup in 2018. And if you include Yugoslavia, this is the 6th time they've played each other at World Cups.
The goal that Richarlison scores is a lovely goal. And I was running a pub quiz and they had it on mute on the screens. So I watched that beautiful goal in a casino, in a shopping mall in Stratford in London, watching it through the weird plastic chandeliers. It was a beautiful, spontaneous moment. And I saw it in a really rubbish way.
That's a good topic, that is. What beautiful goals have you seen in an awful situation? It's the second goal of Richarlison's. He scores a brace, and it is a proper FIFA goal.
I don't think you'd go for that if you're at 0-0.
Yeah, I've got this thing that FIFA, the organisation, want to turn football into FIFA, the computer game. You know, so you've got all the stadiums that inside look identical. They all look like they've been computer generated. So Richarlison is joint top of the Golden Boot race with a bunch of other players on 2 goals now. If he wins the Golden Boot, which may very well happen, then Tottenham Hotspur will be the first club side in history to have 2 Golden Boot winners in their squad at the same time.
Wow.
Richarlison, from all reports, is actually quite a nice bloke. He campaigned against racism after the death of George Floyd. He joined a campaign to promote COVID vaccinations, and he called on authorities to do more for the environment in Brazil. Brazil and Serbia, they were the last 2 teams to play in the sort of first round of games. And after the first round, there were no goals from outside the area, no red cards, 41 goals at an average of 2.56. A couple of teams are really putting that average up. 14 teams are yet to score a goal, and 2 of those teams have had penalties saved. So it's like there's 3 or 4 teams for whom it's like Switzerland 1954, and then everyone else is playing Italia 90. And then this morning, we have watched Wales versus Iran, the first 2 teams to play twice.
Yeah.
And this was the Iran team that we were told were going to show up to play England.
Yeah. The England said that they were expecting a dog of a game against Iran, and instead went, we'll just give that dog of a game to Wales. There's a bunch with Wales where it is an old team and a new team, and they are in between that transition of transitioning out some of the older players, putting in some of the new ones. But yeah, they looked quite ropey in places.
They did. Iran were the better team, and it took until the 98th minute, but Iran eventually win 2-0. Before then, Wayne Hennessy becomes the first player to be sent off at this World Cup for doing an impression of a can-can girl outside his own area.
He is the first person since Tony Schumacher to do a Tony Schumacher.
He's also the first British player to be sent off at a World Cup since...
Wayne Rooney?
Is the right answer. Wayne Hennessy, of course, once was investigated by the FA after he was photographed doing a Nazi salute.
He said it was just he was looking over there.
Hennessy argued that he didn't know what a Nazi salute was, and the FA panel said when they cross-examined him about it, he displayed a very considerable one might even say lamentable degree of ignorance about anything to do with Hitler, fascism, and the Nazi regime. So he basically gets off on the technicality of being an idiot.
You are too thick to be punished.
Ruzbeh Cheshmi scores Iran's first goal, and it is the first goal at this World Cup from outside the area.
And it is our first Thunder Bastard.
Yeah, and it had been coming. They had hit the post twice, I think.
Yeah.
Already in the game, so it's kind of deserved. And then as Wales throw men forward in the 101st minute, Ramin Rezaein, the fullback, adds a second. 3 of Iran's 4 goals in this World Cup so far have been after the 98th minute. Ramin Rezaein likes ice cream.
I've got a lot of time for him. Protests against the Iranian government, likes ice cream, scores lovely goals. What's not to like?
And that's where we're up to with the World Cup. I'm going to be editing this during the Qatar-Senegal game that's about to ensue.
And I am going to get into a car and drive all the way to Scunthorpe.
Can I just say, big thanks to everyone who's listening to this podcast now. Our numbers have gone through the roof, as we thought they might do when the World Cup kicked off. There's loads of episodes there. If you haven't gone back and listened to them, I mean, you've got the rest of your life to do it, but I would recommend it. Though we found out so much interesting stuff about all World Cups doing this podcast.
Yeah.
And of course, you can email us, worldcupofworldcups@gmail.com, and support us at ko-fi.com/worldcupofworldcups. I just want to quickly refer to something we talked about in the last episode. We talked about the idea of the anti-World Cup, where the teams that don't get through the groups then have to play each other in a knockout, and the losers go through until you find out who was the worst team at the World Cup. So what I did was I looked through some international football result histories and the group results of previous World Cups and sort of went, okay, starting with 1998, when it first went to 32 teams, what would be the anti-World Cup draw for the second round? And then looked up when those teams next played each other and used that as the result going forward. And pretty much all of them, apart from 2 games, have actually happened. Jamaica have never played Tunisia, so I can't put a winner forward for that. I gave it to Jamaica on the basis that they played the USA, who were in the next round. But I worked it out for 1998, and the final of the anti-World Cup for 1998 would be between Saudi Arabia and Scotland, who sadly have not played since. So we need them to play each other, because whoever loses that is the anti-World Cup champion of 1998.
I think we can make this happen.
There were more games missing when I tried to do it for 2002, but with a bit of fudging, the final was between Saudi Arabia and China, and Saudi Arabia won that 4-1. So China were the anti-World Cup champions in 2002, but by 2006, loads of the teams haven't played each other. It's like way too many, so there's no point doing it. So we will pop up again with more World Cup facts and nonsense during the tournaments. Until then, I'm at James E. Cook.
I'm at Comedy Savage.
This has been the World Cup of World Cups. Thanks very much for listening. Ta-ra.
Goodbye.